Astoria, Queens is decorated within an inch of its life for the Christmas season, and Mia Karina is juggling her job at the Bellevue Catering Hall with a case of murder. Mia is busy with a full schedule of events at the family business, among them an over-the-top nativity-themed first birthday party and a sweet 16 for a teen drama queen. But her personal life is even more challenging. Her estranged mother has returned, and her lifelong friend Jamie has discovered a shocking secret about his past. He's so angry that he starts hanging out with Lorenzo, who claims to be his long-lost brother, even after it becomes clear that Lorenzo's story is as fake as a fake plastic Christmas tree. Then a body turns up among the elves in a Santa's Workshop lawn display, and amateur sleuth Mia has a buffet of suspects to choose from. Amid the holiday celebrations, she intends to find out who's the guilty party. That is a back cover copy from It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Murder by our guest today on Blackbird Writers Presents, Ellen Byron. She is a USA Today bestselling author of the Cajun Country Mysteries, which have won the Agatha Award for Best Contemporary Novel and multiple Lefty Awards for Best Humorous Mystery. Bayou Book Thief, the first book in her Vintage Cookbook Mysteries, launches in June 2022. She writes the Catering Hall Mysteries series under the name Maria DeRico. Ellen is an award-winning playwright and non-award-winning TV writer of comedies like Wings, Just Shoot Me, and Fairly Odd Parents. She has written over 200 articles for national magazines, but considers her most impressive credit working as a cater waiter for Martha Stewart. She blogs with Chicks on the Case, is a lifetime member of the Writers Guild of America, and will be the 2023 Left Coast Crime Toastmaster. Welcome, Ellen.
Hey, hi.
I did not know that. Congratulations
Yes,
on
thank
being the
you.
Toastmaster. How
I
fun.
know, I'm excited.
Are you already writing your speech?
I've written little, not speech, but I've actually written little things, little notes to myself. So
how intimidating that would be for someone
yeah,
like
it's a little scary, but it's fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Now, as of now, you have 3 mystery series going. You have the Cajun Country Mysteries, the Catering Hall Mysteries, and now in June, the Vintage Cookbook Mysteries. For those who've only read one of the mysteries and are considering the other 2, can you tell us what some of the similarities and some of the differences are?
Sure. And just, the Catering Hall Mystery Series, the 7th book, Lucky 7, actually concluded the series, although I'm putting together now a proposal for a spinoff from it. And I think what the similarity is that there's all of them have humor, although in different degrees. I think the humor in the Cajun Country and the Vintage Cookbook is a little more sly and a little more I don't know what the word is. It's it's hard to explain. It's a little, but it's more on point in terms of the vintage. The Catering Hall Mysteries are a little more like my sitcom writing days. You can really see that it would translate into a comedy.
It would.
Very, very easily. And the others are a little more languid. The humor is more subtle. The humor is more subtle. It's a little more, you should pardon the expression, balls out in the Catering Hall series.
Which I loved. In fact, I loved the humor because you take it to the unexpected and without giving anything away. I read from It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Murder because I think that's my favorite. Because
thank you.
Loved it. Like there's a scene where Mia and her grandmother go to meet the new neighbors, and you're building up where you think the payoff is going to be one thing, and then bam, it goes in a completely different direction, which makes it even funnier.
Oh, thank you.
How hard is it to be funny, or does it just come naturally?
It's interesting. I mean, it depends on the situation. I think humor is a defense mechanism, and it's very much built into my DNA as such. It was just survival. It's like if you, I once said to someone, if I didn't have a sense of humor, I'd be unbearable, and they agreed. And my husband's here in the room. He's laughing.
Never heard that one.
He said, I never heard that one. Oh, I wish damn it. I shouldn't have given him that ammunition.
You'll hear about it later, right?
Oh, I'll be hearing about it for the rest of my life. And so, but where it's hard is when you're really looking to punch up, and you are searching for the right humor. And you know, when I worked in sitcoms, I'll tell you when it was hard. It was hard at midnight after you'd been there for 12 hours and you were looking at a script that was in a lot of trouble, and you were going to be there for another 3 or 4 hours and then have to start the whole thing over the next day. You
Yeah.
know, when you're exhausted and worn out, I mean, it's really hard to be funny. And yet that's what the job requires. So you have to, you know, just chick up, or non-gender person up.
Right.
Non-specific gender person up.
Now, did you find that your experience writing television, did you find that helped your novel writing, or do you?
Oh, absolutely.
You had to overcome some things?
No, it absolutely helped. I'm an outliner. I create what I call a fluid outline. And I think this is very much a result of my TV work, because you know, when I wrote plays, it was much more pantsing. I mean, there were always thoughts and stuff, but I, you know, remember writing one play, and a character showed up at the end of the first act and it was like, oh my gosh. And then I just took me into the second act. And that is not the case with my mysteries. I think because I really lay them out and lay out the clues, and I need to know where it's going. And in, you know, in the film and TV world, an outline is part of your pay structure. So you can't move on to script until your outline is approved by, you know, multiple levels. On a TV show, it has to be approved by the studio and the network, unless they're one and the same, like with a streamer. The showrunner has to sign off, then it goes. So, you know, you've got to get it pretty locked down. But I fluid outline because I do allow room for new things and new ideas and even new characters. When I was writing Here Comes the Body, the first book in the series, about halfway through the first draft, I thought, I need something's missing. And I came up with Terry Fuoco, the kind of annoying, but also the frenemy journalist, who's on the one hand is trying to take down the family, and the other is fascinated by them and kind of likes being a friend of Mia's. So but that didn't really that added to the draft, but it didn't necessarily affect the structure I laid out. And the other thing working in TV taught me to do is end every chapter on an because, you know, when you're writing for network TV and you have to factor in commercials, you want people to come, you know, you end on an before commercials, so people come back, and, you know, after getting their snack, or instead of channel surfing, they want to know what happens next. And that's actually, I trained at comedy improv too, you know, and the whole question of what happens next is pivotal to my writing.
Well, you definitely carry it off, because I read the entire series in one weekend.
Oh gosh, thank you.
Because I just couldn't put them down, and then I wanted to find out what happened next to the
thank
character.
you so much.
And you really know what you're doing.
Thanks.
And your website mentions some interesting family connections between the characters of the Catering Hall Mysteries. Can you fill us in a little on that for those who haven't?
Yes, that series is very much inspired by my real life. We had cousins by marriage ran in Queens, in Astoria, Queens, ran the Astoria Manor, and also the Grand Bay Marina, which was on Flushing Marina, with its lovely view of the LaGuardia landing pattern, but also a lovely marina. And that's where my husband and I had our New York reception. We got married out here in California, but had a New York reception there. And it's, you know, it's, my character works at my somewhat fictionalized version of the Grand Bay Marina. She lives where my Nonna lived, in the two-family house in Astoria, where Nonna lived downstairs and my aunt and uncle and their 4 kids lived upstairs. So Mia in my book lives upstairs, and her Nonna lives downstairs. And Nonna in that book, Elizabeth, is inspired by a combination of my real life Nonna and my mother, who was actually born in Italy and came over when she was 3. So both kind of feisty, strong women. So and it's fun to take it to another level. And in terms of the mob aspect, one thing that's interesting about that is that actually I'm mobbed up on my dad was Jewish. My mom is not. She was actually, her father was an anarchist, so she's the only one in her family who was not raised Roman Catholic. But but my grandfather on the Jewish side was low-level mob and disappeared in 1933. And all signs point to him having been done in.
Oh,
So
my.
yeah, so, and I've actually written a standalone inspired by that,
Oh,
that
have
takes
you?
place in the past and the present, and my agent is shopping it right now.
Oh, how
So,
fun.
and you know, two of the family members, out of the two family members who inspired the series, I've recently learned that one did have
Tell.
one did have connections. I won't say more than that, and the other did not, and tried to keep his nose clean. So
Like the father, like
yes,
the
exactly.
father,
Yeah.
who's trying to
So
keep his nose clean with
yes,
the
although the father in this
catering
series
hall.
is a member of the family and is now trying, you know, and the thing is, I did a lot of research, and you know, the mob does have legitimate businesses. It's not, and so some of them are fronts, but many of them are actually run as legitimate businesses. So, you know, I wanted to make sure that was real.
Well, you can tell that there's some personal connection there because you captured the voice beautifully of
Oh,
everybody in it. I loved it.
thank you. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the new series, the Vintage Cookbook
Oh,
series?
yes, I'm
I'm
very
really
excited.
excited.
Yes, here is the cover. I don't
Oh,
have the book yet, but I don't know if you can see.
wonderful. Yes.
And I'm super excited because, now you can see my pencil sharpener behind it. It was hiding. It's very deceptive, disguising in
We
my
expect a
background.
writer to have a pencil sharpener.
So yeah, this was inspired by a few things. I developed this odd habit of collecting vintage cookbooks, and I love looking at them. I don't use them, although now I am for the series. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I had to. But you know, I was talking to Berkeley, and we were interested in working together, and I pitched an idea, and they felt there were elements of it they loved. Like, it took place in New Orleans, and I went to school at Tulane, and our daughter's at Loyola in New Orleans, and I'm very attached to that city. It's like, you know, where my heart lives. I just love it. And the Cajun Country Mysteries take place about an hour north of that. They're called Cajun countries, but they're kind of set in the river parishes. But even so, there's plenty of crossover. But with the vintage cookbooks, what came together was, like, you know, I said, well, what about, you know, my protagonist opens a shop that sells vintage cookbooks and kitchenware, that is the gift shop for a culinary house museum. And what that is I've made up for myself is, you know, house museums, like those famous, you know, historic houses you can tour. This one is in the Garden District, and it was owned by one of New Orleans' famous restaurateurs, female restaurateurs. New Orleans has, you know, has really some very legendary female restaurateurs, like Leah Chase, who's also a chef, but then there's Ella Brennan, who is from the Brennan's family, and she was not a chef. She, you know, and her family created restaurants and restaurant experiences and nurtured them. And I started reading about Ella and her sister Adelaide, and, you know, I can't take, there's stuff in New Orleans is such a quirky city, and its people are so quirky, and I don't want to take the real life, you know, and co-opt the real life experiences. So I tried to fictionalize it, that the Culinary House Museum belonged to a character named Genevieve Charbonnet, who's inspired by Ella Brennan and Adelaide. It's kind of a mix of the two sisters, and it's called Bon Vie. And so my character comes from Los Angeles. She was born and abandoned as a newborn at Charity Hospital in New Orleans, and she's adopted by her NICU nurse, who ends up marrying a grip who's in town from LA working on movies. So they go back to LA, but now as a young woman. She's 28, but she's a recent widow because she was married to an actor who became obsessed with being a YouTube star and died doing a stupid stunt. So yeah.
I read that in the book description, and that made
Yeah.
me laugh out loud.
Well, it's, you know, I live in LA, and I've lived here a long time, and I still feel like you know, a fish out of water. I don't know if I ever won't, but that's such a, you know, in my neighborhood, I mean, we have houses that suddenly get rented, and they rent to YouTubers. So I see them and TikTok. Well, now it's more TikTokers, so suddenly some, you know, 20-year-old will be speeding past me in a street luge. So
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. So I'm kind of like, I felt I had free reign to diss that particular subset of human. So, but I'm really excited because I get to write about New Orleans. I get to incorporate my own vintage cookbook collection. In fact, the recipes in this book are not New Orleans themed, actually. They're recipes from my own vintage cookbooks, and I have a little bit of history that I've dug up on each of, like, the cookbook where the recipe is from.
Oh, wonderful. Do you like to cook?
No, to be honest, that's the great irony of my mystery career.
But you appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I have to now. But it's a wonderful blog invited me to join, and I had to pass because I had to say, you really need people who love to cook and are more, this is my guilty secret. I love to bake, but I'm always on a diet, so I can't do that very often. But I'm that person who I have, ADHD. So, I'll miss an ingredient and not realize until it's too late. But I adapt, in this, I will never use a recipe, like take it off the internet or take it out of a cookbook. I always adapt it and make it my own. And sometimes that's more work than I think writing the book. So
yeah, I find that a frightening prospect. I had thought about putting some recipes in one of mine because readers love recipes.
yeah.
And I thought, I just do not know enough.
Well, and because I adapt and I play with the recipes, what happened in my second Cajun Country Mystery is it went to print and someone said, I was trying this recipe and I think something's off. And I realized that in the course of adapting it, I'd left out an ingredient. So I was like, shit. And so I got, we were able to adjust it in the Kindle version, in the ebook version. But, in the hard cup, in the paper, in the trade paper and the hardcover, people would like buy it and I would write it in. Go here.
Which one was that? Was that the
Body on the Bayou? Wait, is it?
Bayou?
Is that? Wait, let me see. Yeah, Body on the Bayou. Sorry, I had to look.
I might have that hardcover. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah, and I'll write in the missing ingredient.
Oh, that's too funny.
Right now I'm doing that. I'm kitchen testing the recipes that are going to be in the second book. I've already tested the recipes in the first book.
Do you have something to help you, or do you just say, you know what, I think I'm going to switch this out?
You know what? No, I just kind of play with it. I feel like, this is what I'd like. And this is what, and then I say, this is what the first batch was missing. And sometimes, like when I was doing jambalaya and I really wanted to make it my own, I was making, my family was like, oh God, no more jambalaya, because I kept making it and trying. And then in Fatal Occasion Festival, I worked backwards. I created I'd bought in New Orleans a sweet potato praline, and it was so good. I was like, oh, this is really special. So I created a plot point, a subplot that, a B story or a runner that involved sweet potato pralines. And I figure, I'll make that recipe and have it in there. And so I had a couple of other praline recipes. And so I tried to make the sweet potato total failure, epic fail. I make it again. I make it 3 times. I literally had to throw out all the batches. And finally, I put in the book, RIP sweet potato praline recipe. And I had to wait, I'll look and see. I had to apologize to readers because I set the whole thing up and then couldn't deliver. It said, yes, RIP sweet potato praline recipe.
Oh, that is so funny.
Yes, readers, forgive me. I tried, how I tried, but I could not come up with this successful recipe for sweet potato pralines. And then I named the store where I bought them in New Orleans and listed the website if anyone wanted to try getting them for themselves.
Oh, that is so funny. I'm glad to hear it's not just me that has thrown things out and given up. It's interesting, but I just caught on your breakout book, which is Dana Kaye's podcast. You did a talk for her, or an interview with her called "A New Approach to Shameless Shilling," which was hysterical, and I was like both shocked and, I'm embarrassed to say, gratified to find out that even you are intimidated by how you really, whether it doesn't matter if you're traditionally published, a bestseller, whatever, you have to do so much of the promotion yourself.
Oh, endless. It never ends. In
But
fact,
you do it
this
so well.
morning I woke up early and made a graphic, and I used one of the tools, the blurring thing and that we learned about in Dana's, and I added some new hashtags and posted on Instagram. And I always feel like no matter what I'm doing, it's not enough, and it's exhausting because
It
I mean,
is.
it's great because I do love engaging with readers, but it's also it's a huge time drain. Like right now I have to, finish my proposal, and then I'm doing a fourth catering hall, although I feel like its beginning was to look a lot like Murder. People love it. I feel like probably should have stopped then, but they asked me to do a fourth.
We want to find out what happens
And
next.
so, well, I'll tell you, it's fun because I'm having fun writing it because the oldest son of the mafia capo de capo, who's kind of lost, he gets on a reality show, the Dons of Ditmars Boulevard. So Mia she ends up having to keep an eye on him, becoming the set caterer and stuff. So I get to write about a reality show involving these Goombas.
Oh my gosh, that sounds
young-
hysterical.
So I hope it will be as fun. So,
Are
and
you,
it's fun to write really, like I went to, when I was in New York in June, my friend and I went to Little Island, which is this newly built man-made island off 14th Street in the Hudson. And it was so cool. Oh, I just loved it. So I'm incorporating that into the catering hall. And it's really fun because I have a scene, I haven't written it yet, where Mia goes there, she meets someone clandestinely, a possible, clue to the event, and she's going to be sitting there going, oh my, look at the view. Oh, is that hold on, I got to take a break. Look, it's twilight. Look at the Empire State Building. So
now back to what you were saying.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, I was talking about your character.
I know exactly. So it'll be like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, what? Oh, right. That's important. Oh, but you know what else is important? Look at it's twilight. There's, so I'm really
fun.
So it's fun to incorporate, that kind of humor, which is really easy to do with the Catering Hall series. So
then are you still going to be balancing all three mysteries?
Well, no. At this point, I don't know. I certainly not the Cajun Country. But if they pick up the River Parishes proposal, that will, replace it. And that's a spinoff featuring Grand Mère, who is probably the second most popular character after the protagonist, maybe even the most popular character in the Cajun Country series. So I'm having fun working with that. My initial contract for the Vintage Cookbook is for 2 books, and I'm not sure when I'll learn if I'm picked up. And and Kensington asked me to do a 4th catering hall, and we'll see where it goes after that. I could end up writing 3 series or none. So
it's all a crapshoot, right?
It's just a crapshoot. And then of course the standalone, we'll see what happens with that. So
well, that sounds really fun. I hope that is it like a cozy, or is it
no, it's suspense. I would call it domestic suspense, but it bounces back and forth between the past from journal entries and the present. And so, it's the most unfunny thing I've ever written. And I say to people, it feels like someone else wrote it. Because I'm like, who wrote this? So, but I think it's engaged. I think it's interesting. I think it's suspenseful and atmospheric. And that's one thing that, I know we were going to talk a little about setting, which is extremely important to me and really is the engine behind prompting a lot of what I write back to when I wrote plays. I'd get obsessed and fascinated with a place, and that would lead to a story set there.
Oh, wow. And you can tell that Louisiana really captured your heart because you got
it actually did in my first published and produced play, Graceland, which was one act about 2 women both determined to be the first person to set foot inside Graceland the day it's open to the public. One of the characters is a young Cajun girl, and then I wrote a companion play to that was set in a location I saw during my travels as a student, and that stayed with me. So yeah, going back I don't even want to say how many years. It's been an inspiration to my work.
Well, Ellen, time has flown.
Oh,
I have so many more questions, but we do need to wrap it up. I wanted to mention that there's so much social media that you're doing the Canva for. Where's the best place for people to find you?
I just yawned again. I talk too fast and don't breathe enough.
No.
So sometimes I have to gasp for air. At least that's what a behaviorist told me. You know what? The best thing to do is to sign up for my newsletter at ellenbyron.com, because I have a lot of fun with that. And, and then also you can find me on Instagram and as Ellen Byron Marie DeRico, and same on Facebook. I have an author page and then a personal page. So,
and
I don't share my Twitter because that's where I vent politically.
Yes.
Occasionally, I'm getting better about it.
Oh, good.
But
it's too stressful.
So
the Bayou Book Thief comes out on June 7th, 2022, and it's available for pre-order now. You can also find Ellen and the links to all her social media on ellenbyron.com. And don't forget, when you're looking at her books, to look for both Ellen Byron and Maria DeRico. That's DIRICO.
By the way, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that is my real nonna's maiden name. So I took that as my pen name.
I think that's amazing. That's so cool.
Thank you.
And I'm spelling Byron, B-Y-R-I-O-N, B-Y-R-O-N, because I was at a book signing with you when they spelt it Brian.
Right.
So just to make sure everybody's got that. And you can find this interview and others by going to blackbirdwriters.com. And thank you so much for being with us, Ellen. It was
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So good luck to all of you, all the Blackbird writers.
Thank you.
Thanks.